The Jonathan Kuminga situation has turned into a full-blown nightmare for the Golden State Warriors. What was supposed to be their next franchise cornerstone has instead become a massive roadblock to their entire offseason. Forget about signing veterans like Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, or even Malcolm Brogdon. None of that can happen until the Kaminga contract situation is settled. And right now, the Warriors are stuck. Steph Curry is looking around and realizing he's got just 8 teammates under contract. 8. For a team that's trying to compete in the toughest Western Conference we've seen in years, that's a disaster. And here's where it gets even scarier. If Kaminga chooses to bet on himself and take that one-year qualifying offer worth around $8 million, Golden State could lose him for absolutely nothing in 2026 free agency. Not only would they risk watching their former lottery pick walk away with no return, but it also ties their hands this year. They couldn't even trade him for the kind of impact player they desperately need. It's the kind of front office nightmare that can derail a dynasty. But then came the rumor that shook Warriors fans, an idea so wild it almost seemed too perfect. According to plugged-in insider Jake Fisher, there was chatter about a potential Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade for Josh Giddey. Imagine that for a second. The Warriors would replace Kuminga, a raw and inconsistent fit in Steve Kerr's system, with a 6 feet 8 inches playmaking forward who has elite vision, strong rebounding, and the ability to push the pace in transition. Giddey might not be a great shooter yet, but if he continues to improve, his combination of size and passing would look like a dream next to Steph and Klay. On paper, it almost looked like the perfect solution to Golden State's problem. But here's the twist, it was never real. That Warriors Giddey rumor? Planted. A smokescreen. The craziest part? The sides fueling it didn't even want to make the trade happen. See, the Chicago Bulls have quietly been obsessed with Kuminga for over a year. League insiders report that the Bulls actually reached out to Golden State earlier this summer to see if a Kuminga trade could be done, but the Warriors flat out refused. Chicago isn't done though, they're set to have serious cap space next summer, and if Kuminga plays this year on the qualifying offer, the Bulls could be the #1 team to throw him the kind of payday he's been waiting for. Meanwhile, Golden State's interest in Giddey is very real, but from the past. On draft night in 2021, the Warriors had Josh Giddey circled at the #7 pick. But Oklahoma City shocked everyone by grabbing him at 6, forcing Golden State to settle for Kuminga. Ever since then, fans have wondered what could have been if Giddey had landed in the Bay. That's where the rumor comes from, but the timing, the fit, and the leverage just don't make sense in reality. So why is Kuminga even in this position? It all comes down to fit. Kuminga is a freak athlete with all the talent in the world, but has struggled to find a role in Kerr's motion-heavy system. He's not a consistent shooter, and when you're sharing the floor with non-shooters like Draymond Green, spacing collapses fast. Kerr has kept him on a short leash, often limiting his minutes in critical games. And from Kuminga's perspective, it feels like he's being caged, unable to showcase the full range of his abilities. That frustration has boiled over. Golden State reportedly offered him a 2-year, $45 million extension, solid money for a player still finding his role. But Kuminga rejected it. He wants star money, $30 million a year or more. And if the Warriors don't meet that number, he's willing to gamble everything by taking that 1-year qualifying offer, risking injury, and betting on himself to cash out in unrestricted free agency. Contrast that with Josh Giddey's situation. The Thunder loved him as a prospect, but his lack of shooting made him nearly unplayable in big playoff matchups. Oklahoma City didn't waste time, they flipped him to Chicago for Alex Caruso, a move that instantly boosted their defense and helped them win a championship. Chicago, on the other hand, has been blasted for giving up Caruso for Giddey, especially after a rocky start. But in the background, it's becoming clear, the Bulls may have had their eyes on pairing Kuminga and Giddey all along. So here's the bottom line, Golden State is trapped in limbo, Kuminga is betting on himself, and rival teams are circling like sharks. If this blows up, the Warriors could lose a former top 10 pick for nothing, and Steph Curry could be left stranded with a roster that simply isn't good enough. But if Kuminga takes off somewhere else, Chicago, Orlando, or even Miami, Golden State might spend the next decade wondering if they let another superstar slip away. The Kuminga situation isn't just about one player. It's about the Warriors' future, Steph's remaining years, and whether Golden State can avoid becoming the next fallen dynasty. Josh Giddey's season was a rollercoaster, but the turning point came right after the Bulls shipped out Zach LaVine. Before that trade, Giddey was averaging just 12 points a night on 45% shooting, playing more of a secondary role. But once LaVine was gone and injuries piled up, the Bulls handed him the keys. From that point on, Giddey absolutely exploded. Over his final 19 games, he put up nearly a triple-double every single night, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, and here's the shocking part, he shot 43% from 3. In March against the Lakers, he came within a whisker of a quadruple-double with 15 points, 10 boards, 17 assists, and 8 steals. That performance cemented him as the third Bull in franchise history to record a season with at least 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, and 500 assists. The only other names on that list? Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. That's legendary company. So yes, Chicago wants to keep him. But here's the problem, Giddey is asking for $30 million a year. That's a massive price tag for a player who truly only dominated for about 19 games. The Bulls aren't convinced yet. They've countered with $20 million per season, and right now both sides are holding firm. This stalemate has created one of the strangest off-seasons we've seen. Giddey and Jonathan Kuminga are now 2 of 4 restricted free agents who remain unsigned deep into the summer, along with Philly's Quentin Grimes and Brooklyn's Cam Thomas. And this is where things get risky. All of these guys have one option sitting on the table, the qualifying offer. It's a cheap one-year deal that allows them to hit unrestricted free agency next summer, giving them full control of their destiny. But it's also a massive gamble. One injury, one down year, and they could lose out on life-changing money. Why is this happening now? It all comes down to the new CBA. Teams are terrified of going into the second apron, so instead of paying young players what they want, front offices are lowballing. That's why you've got multiple restricted free agents still unsigned this late in August. As for that Giddey for Kuminga trade rumor, reports say it was never real. Conversations did happen, but they were only about Chicago's interest in Kuminga, not about moving Giddey. The truth? That rumor likely came straight from Giddey's camp, leaked to create leverage. In today's NBA, sometimes the biggest moves start with whispers planted in the media. The Josh Giddey-Jonathan Kuminga rumor sounds flashy on paper, but in reality, it doesn't even make sense. The reason? NBA rules. There's something called base compensation that completely kills this deal before it even starts. In a sign and trade, only half of Kuminga's new salary would count going out from Golden State's books, while Giddey's full salary would count going in. That instantly makes the math impossible. Let's break it down with numbers. If both players were signed for $30 million a year, Golden State would only be sending out $15 million in salary while taking back $30 million. Chicago would be in the same boat. That simply doesn't work under the cap rules. And if you didn't follow the details, don't worry, the bottom line is clear. To make something like this work, it would require a complicated 3 or even 4-team trade this late in the offseason, and the chances of that happening are almost zero. So what's really going to happen here? Among the 4 big restricted free agents still stuck in limbo, Josh Giddey looks like the most likely to stay put. He's embraced Chicago, the Bulls love his size and playmaking, and they are motivated to lock him down. The organization knows they cannot afford to fumble this. They already took heat for giving up Alex Caruso in the trade, especially after he signed a big extension and helped his new team win a ring. For the Bulls, letting Giddey fail would be a nightmare, so expect them to eventually find common ground on a new deal. Jonathan Kuminga, however, is the complete opposite. If Giddey feels stable, Kuminga feels like a ticking time bomb. The Warriors want to keep him, but this kid is determined to control his own destiny. He has already turned down a strong extension offer because he wants star-level money, and if he doesn't get it, he's willing to risk everything by playing out the year on the qualifying offer. That would give him freedom in 2026, but it would also mean betting tens of millions of guaranteed dollars on staying healthy and productive. For a 21-year-old, that's bold. The Bulls would love Kuminga too. He's the exact type of wing they need, a strong defender, a slasher, a cutting finisher who doesn't need the ball to impact the game. Pairing him with Kobe White's passing or another guard could be dangerous. But he's not available. This rumor is fake, and it was never realistic. The bigger issue? While this drama drags on, Steph Curry is stuck. He may have only 2 true title runs left, and one of them is slipping away. Golden State has just 9 players under contract, their roster is frozen, and the longer this standoff goes on, the harder it will be to compete in a brutal Western Conference. If veterans like Al Horford or DeAnthony Melton decide they've waited too long and sign elsewhere, the Warriors season could collapse before it even begins. We've seen this story before. A superstar in the twilight of his prime, and the front office stuck negotiating with one player while the rest of the league moves on. Once those role players sign elsewhere, there's no second chance. That's why Jonathan Kuminga's situation is bigger than just keep him or trade him. It's about whether the Warriors are still committed to winning with Steph Curry, or if they're quietly slipping into the post-Curry era without admitting it. Meanwhile, across town, the Lakers are making the opposite move. They're all in on the Luka Doncic era. In just 6 months, Luka has seized control of the franchise, and that hasn't exactly sat well with LeBron James. The question now, what's the Lakers' real plan to build around Luka? And how long before this new power shift creates a clash that changes the NBA again?